So what are we going to do with our children?
Yes, right. What happens to our children?
They have a different life than we did.
Oh, yes.
Is our school preparing them for that life?
Nope. Nope, there isn't. Okay. I mean, their life could be back to a point very quickly where there are no computer games, where you start work as an adult at the age of 6 or 7, that you definitely start your training at 5 or 6 or 7, that there's no adolescence in the way we know it, that life is hard and rewarding if you work hard. So how do we get that into kids of our generation? No, not ours, but that young generation today. How do we do that? How do we enthuse them? So instead of them feeling resentful that we've buggered up the world and that they've got to inherit it, that we've actually opened a door for a new and exciting way of life. How do we do that? Yeah. If governments were conscious that it was needed, we could no doubt devise ways of doing it, psychologically. But on a one-to-one basis, fine. But more than that, that's difficult. All the kids in school, what are they going to want to do? They want to go home, be fed, have their clothes looked after. They don't want to be told, if you don't work, you don't eat. It's very simple. I don't want to work. No, I'm a young kid, I want to go and play. All right? Go play. Then see what happens. And it's an appalling situation when you think about it. So, as you undermine society, you actually undermine the ability of society to deal with these problems. I mean, look what people do. When something gets bad, the main thing people do is they close up. Oh, I don't want to know about that. That's too much. Don't show me. And then it hits them in the face and they're not prepared. Very difficult.
Would you just tell that story about the 1 meter water rise and the rich people in the north coast here? Just like...
Yeah, the government did a study 2 years ago on what would happen in Australia with a small 1 meter water level rise. And we're coastal people. Most of Australians live within 3, 4, 10 kilometres of the coast. So 1 metre doesn't do much in some ways, but storm surges make a very big difference. Close to 3,500 schools would have to be resited, which means rebuilt on higher ground. The bus routes to them would all have to be rebuilt. The houses of the people where the kids live would have to be resited. So the whole population of kids in that school would have to end up somewhere else. And that was calculated as being 750,000 Australians for a 1 metre rise would need to be relocated somewhere else. And if you then allow for the sort of sea level rise that we are expected to have with the temperature rise that is already built into the system and that cannot be avoided, we're looking at somewhere between 6 and 10 metres. So most of Sydney is going to be uninhabitable. Most of Boston, the whole of Florida, bits of New York, wherever we go, we look at the cities, they're uninhabitable. And since half the world's population lives in cities, that's at least, I would say, a quarter of the world's population that's got to move into the country. And the country's moving somewhere else because it's flooded. Knowing this, because the government has this information, I know personally from my discussions with them, they know this. So, being told that, 1,500 metre bridges in Australia, in the east coast of Australia alone, have to be rebuilt. And you know the cost of a bridge. And then with the bridge goes the railway lines that go across it, the roads on either side, etc., etc. It's a total infrastructure rebuilding. So knowing this, the councils decided they would zone land according to their susceptibility to sea level rise, because otherwise they're responsible. If they haven't told a buyer that there's a possibility of something happening on that land that they are aware of, then legally they're responsible. Now in Gosfordshire, the people living on the coast itself, who are mainly the rich, saw that that was coming onto their title deeds, on their zoning, and that was therefore affecting the value of their property. So they banded together, they went to Gosford Council, they bullied the council to take back that resolution. So the council in fact has said, we agree with King Canute that the seas will not rise, but nobody is going to suffer from sea level rise, and therefore this land will never have to have a notice on it warning people. Now this means the council is now responsible for the loss of value of that land, which means everybody else in the municipality, except those of course living on the coast. When the people on the coast lose their land, everybody else has to pay for it. That's how stupid our system has become.